These are 20 useful tips every new player needs to know in Star Wars Battlefront 2, and the game won't tell you about a lot of these. Take my word for it, I've got nearly 6,000 hours in this game, and I wish I knew these back when I started. These are the tips you're looking for. Number 1, don't spam the jump with Infantry. In other games, you can jump around and make yourself harder to hit, but in Battlefront 2, there's actually a movement penalty after 2 consecutive jumps. It kills your momentum, and after 3 jumps, it completely slows you down. Try it next time you're coming out of spawn. Sprint forward, throw a couple of jumps in there, and you'll see just how much you slow down. Heroes can actually get away with spamming the jump because they don't have that movement penalty, but infantry and special units like the enforcers and the aerials are affected by this. You want to prioritize strafing in a gunfight, and that's how you avoid fire. You can get away with throwing one side jump in there to throw off their aim and adjust yours, but no more than that. If you have to make a quick escape, use your dodge instead. Number 2, because the game can be played in third person, the crosshair is a little bit weird. It's kind of diagonal, and throw in the fact that the blasters are all projectile weapons and you have to lead your shots, the aiming in Battlefront 2 definitely takes some getting used to. You can change which shoulder perspective you're looking through, either left or right, and depending on which shoulder you're looking over, if you aim just a little bit to that side of your target, you'll actually end up landing more shots. For example, if you're looking over the right shoulder, aim just a little bit to the right of your target, and vice versa for left. Basically, you want to try to line your crosshair up with the very edge of their model, and that's more or less dead center, even though it looks off based on the crosshair. Number 3 goes with this. In your settings, you'll find 2 different sensitivity settings. You have Soldier and Zoomed. Soldier is just hipfire, and Zoomed is obviously ADS, but what I didn't know for the longest time was that the zoomed sensitivity is twice as fast as Soldier. There's no settings like S-curves or other customization options, so it really helps to experiment with different sensitivity settings and find the right combination for you. I'm not kidding when I say this, I highly recommend 100% on both. Maxed out sensitivity, it lets you do the most in this game, but I'm fully aware that takes a lot of getting used to. If you want to eventually get to 100, try going up in increments of 5% every day until you get there. Number 4, going off of that actually, this is useful to know. Troopers and heroes share the same sensitivity settings. One thing that I always wished the developers changed in this game was having 2 separate sensitivities for lightsabers and blasters. Because if you're going to play on 100, that will help your lightsaber game, but it's also going to make it a lot harder to aim the blaster. You could always just keep switching the sensitivity settings depending on which character you're playing, but that gets really tedious and annoying. That's another reason I recommend 100, because if you can get good at that, you won't have to keep changing it. Number 5, aim assist is really strong in this game. If you're on console, you can actually use that to your advantage by tapping the zoom button, and that will help you snap onto a target. If you add in some rotational aim assist, it makes it even stronger, and this is especially useful for snapping onto headshots with snipers or with the assault class. You activate the rotational aim assist by strafing left or right while trying to aim. So when you're trying to line up headshots, you just want to get as close as you can, strafe left or right, and then tap that zoom button and it should snap right onto where you want to shoot. That's the hack for blasters, but there's also a zoom button hack for lightsabers too. When you're blocking with a lightsaber hero, that actually engages the zoomed sensitivity setting because it uses the same button as zoom. That's probably why you feel like you're turning in quicksand when you're blocking with a lightsaber. If you bump up that zoom sensitivity, you'll be able to keep the block up and still turn on a dime. This is how you can get some cheeky hits in behind the back, by dodging through your opponent, engaging the zoomed sensitivity, doing a quick 180, and then getting that shot in. Number 7, this one applies to console players on controller, and also PC players who have a controller hooked up. I recommend using the alternate soldier layout controls. Most other shooters actually have this layout in the settings. Basically, it just swaps the dodge and the melee buttons, so that your dodge is now on the right stick. That way you don't have to take your finger off the camera. You can dodge attacks as needed and smoothly look in the direction you want at the same time. This setting took me way too long to start using, and I have not changed it back since. It's just that helpful. Number 8, and this one is for the players who did not pick up the Celebration Edition. The Celebration Edition gives you all the cosmetics in the game, except for the few that you have to grind for. But if you didn't pick it up, you're going to have to grind credits to purchase all of the in-game cosmetics. The Blast mode and Ewok Hunt modes are the highest credit payout game modes in Battlefront 2. It's the most credit for the least amount of time played. You can get the same or similar credit payouts in matches of Galactic Assault or Supremacy, but those matches last so long. If you're trying to play for maximum credit with minimal time, play Ewok Hunt or Blast. Likewise, for number 9, if you're trying to grind levels, co-op mode is the single best mode for farming levels. Max level is 1000 for every class, vehicle, and hero, so it's definitely a grind to max everything out. I've been playing basically since day 1 and I still don't have everything maxed. But co-op really helps with that grind. Every Wednesday is triple XP, so that's the best day to play co-op. If you miss Wednesdays, there's also double XP during the weekends, but if you're grinding for levels, play co-op. Number 10, reload in the middle of a dodge. So because the blasters in Battlefront work off of a heat mechanic and not ammunition, it's a good idea to cool the blaster down after every single kill. But something I want you to get used to is cooling down your blaster and dodging away at the exact same time. This has become muscle memory for me at this point, where as soon as I get a kill, I'm cooling down the blaster and dodging away to reset. There's a brief window while you dodge where you're invincible to melee attacks and you take reduced damage from shots, so it's the perfect opportunity to hit a reload and get ready for the next fight. Number 11 is controlled button mashing. Sounds weird, but hear me out. Battlefront 2 is a clunky game, and it's got a good amount of input delay. It's also really easy to interrupt inputs with other actions, like when you're getting hit in the face with a lightsaber, for example. Sometimes you'll hit a button and it just won't do what you want, for whatever reason. Button mashing is usually bad form in other games, but in Battlefront 2, it's almost a necessary evil because of the input delay and the interruptions. I'll use the dodge as an example. If I'm getting attacked by a Jedi or Sith, I'll mash that dodge button 4 or 5 times really quick just to guarantee that I get my dodge input in there. I don't want to overcommit to it. Basically, when I see the dodge animation begin, I know that I've got it, and I need to either get my aim ready or queue up a second dodge. Controlled button mashing is not a bad thing here. Major emphasis on controlled. You don't want to get carried away. It's just to make sure the input registers. Number 12, and this one could use an entire video all by itself, but don't spend all of your skill points on the first few star cards you unlock. Some cards are better than others in this game. Instead, it might be worth it to upgrade a single good card or just save up until you have enough skill points to max out everything. That's why I say this needs an entire video just to itself, because I can go down the list of cards and say, okay, this one's good, that one sucks, this one's great. For the purposes of this video, any star card that boosts damage, gives you an additional dodge, increases stamina, or increases your health is good. Stick with those. Number 13, the kill feed in the top right corner can give you a lot of valuable information. In the hero modes, for example, it tells you which of your teammates go down so that you'll know exactly when you have backup and when you're rushing straight into a 4 versus 1 beatdown. Feed gets color-coded so that you can easily tell which side is getting kills. If you see a lot of red in the feed, that tells you right away a chunk of your team just died. It'll eventually become habit to just glance up there every now and again. Plus, it looks very satisfying when you get a big multi-kill. Number 14, lightsaber heroes are very strong leaders in the large-scale game modes. Killstreak videos were a genre on YouTube themselves a couple years back, and going on long kill streaks is still really satisfying today. Lightsaber attacks always do anywhere from 120 to 150 damage, so if you're hunting troopers in Galactic Assault or Supremacy, always remember that basic troops have 150 to 200 HP. They're a simple 2-shot for any lightsaber hero. They can still dodge away, but as soon as that second hit connects, just move on to the next troop. I bring it up because it's easy to get caught up in the button mashing like we talked about and overcommit, which is when you'll get caught. So just remember, 2 hits is usually all it takes for most troops. Double tip, you do bonus damage if you hit them in the back, so you can one-shot assaults, officers, and specialists. And if you equip Sith trained on General Grievous or massive strikes on Anakin, that will also one-shot most troopers. Minus heavies, of course. Number 15, and you'll learn this the hard way. Some maps suck in this game, especially in the hero modes. Kashyyyk, the First Order Star Destroyer, and Bespin are all infamous in the community for being hell maps because of all the spots you can fall off the edge. Some heroes like Luke, Maul, Kylo Ren, and Anakin love these maps because they can push or pull their targets over the edge and get some free kills. When you're playing on these maps, unless you're going for those ledge kills, You want to always be aware of your position and just how close you are to the edge, because all it takes is one knock before you're doing your best Palpatine impression. It's actually a good time to talk about knocks. Number 16. Knocks and stuns are the bread and butter abilities of a lot of heroes. A knock is basically just when you get hit by a force push or a pull or any other ability that knocks you over and leaves you vulnerable to a follow-up hit. Stuns are just that. You get hit by a shock grenade or a droid that stuns you and you're immobilized for a second. Both ability types are really powerful, but the knock is arguably better because there's actually stun immunity in this game. If you get stunned, you're safe from another stun for about a second and a half. That way you can't just be immobilized forever until you're dead. However, there's no immunity to being knocked down once you're on the ground. If you get knocked once, you can get juggled by other knock abilities really easily. It starts with Anakin's pull, then Luke repulses you, then Rey dash strikes into you, Anakin hits you with heroic might, then Han Solo detonates his bomb in your face and you just have to eat it. Lesson being, don't get knocked. Number 17, the lightsaber block is really strong, especially with a character like Obi-Wan Kenobi, who's got really strong defensive stamina, but there are block breakers in Battlefront 2. A few heroes have abilities that go right through a lightsaber block and deal damage. The last hit of Kylo Ren's Frenzy, Anakin's Passionate Strike, and Yoda's Dash Attack are the three most commonly used ones, but any explosive ability, like Leia Grenades or Han Bomb, will also go through a block. Chewbacca is also disrespectful to lightsaber villains because his shots have an explosive splash damage AoE effect that still hits them even though they're blocking. It's amazing. Chewbacca main here. I love Chewbacca. Number 18, in the large-scale game modes, it's always a race to get 4,000 battle points first so that you can play as a hero. The officer class is going to be your best friend here since it easily farms battle points with its middle ability. At the start of the match, when your whole team is grouped up together, you can hit that ability and get all your teammates in the radius for a quick burst of points. And equipping the Bounty Hunter star card will get you 20% bonus points too. If you want to play as a hero in Galactic Assault or Supremacy, get good with the officer. Number 19, and I'm including this tip as a reminder to myself too. This game is 100% a casual game. There is no ranked mode, there's no leaderboard. It's all for fun and whatever goals you set for yourself. That's why there really isn't a good reason to let this game get to your head if it's not going well. The game is clunky, it's laggy, sometimes things just happen and no amount of skill can save you from it, so it's best to just learn to roll with the punches. Yes, it can be very frustrating, but it's one of those games where you just have to experience a lot of the bullshit so that you can learn how to counter said bullshit. And number 20, not necessarily saving the best for last, but this is a useful tip. Turn motion blur off in the settings. I can't give you a scientific reason for this one. All I can tell you is that motion blur messes with my game. It makes the hitboxes funky, it makes the visuals funky. Just trust me on this. Turn this setting all the way to 0 and never touch it again. And those are 20 genuinely useful tips in Star Wars Battlefront 2. Like I said, I wish I knew a lot of these coming into the game when I first started, because it would have given me a huge jump start. If you have any other questions about the game, let me know in the comments below and I will do my best to answer them. If you found this video or any of the tips in it helpful, I would really appreciate a thumbs up. That tells YouTube I'm doing a good job. And if you want to stay in the loop with more Battlefront 2 content, consider subscribing. I've got a huge back catalog of content when I used to make videos on this game years ago. The Battlefront 2 Renaissance feels nice, man. It feels like we're back in the glory days. These are 25 hero tips you need to know in Battlefront 2, and the game won't tell you about a lot of these. Take it from someone with nearly 6,000 hours in this game. I use these techniques all the time, and they're great. Let's get right into it. In Battlefront 2, there's a few abilities that can go through a lightsaber block. Anakin's Passionate Strike, Yoda's Dash Attack, the last hit of Kylo's Frenzy all break blocks. Han Solo and BB-8 can charge through them, and explosive damage also goes through, but there's a hidden block breaker that new players won't know about. The Epicenter star card makes Luke Skywalker's repulse ability do more damage to enemies that are standing inside that second circle, but what the card won't tell you is that extra damage goes right through a lightsaber block. This is a really broken mechanic in fights because you can keep a villain from healing up even if they're defending. Big bonus that Epicenter is the first card that Luke unlocks, so you can abuse this right from the start. It's great for keeping pressure when the opponent is on the back foot. So this game has a hidden momentum mechanic. It's why on some maps that have a lot of slopes, you'll sometimes get launched sky high when you make a move. Some abilities will give you a burst of that momentum that you can take advantage of. Luke's Rush, Yoda's Dash, and Maul's Spin Attack all have this effect, and they let you combo into some pretty cool moves because of it. For example, each of these heroes can lunge coming out of that ability and close in on a faraway target. If you want a more detailed guide on lunging, you can check out my lightsaber dueling guide here. Or what really illustrates the momentum hack is doing a jump attack out of the ability. The momentum will carry you forward through the jump, so you can do some cheeky things like turning the camera around halfway through and getting a hit into the back. It's also a way to just keep the character moving. If you're low on health and you need to make some space, you can throw a little bunny hop in after the ability, and the momentum will take you just a bit further away. Yoda is really powerful in this game, and he fills an interesting role where he's kind of a tank, a healer, and a DPS all wrapped into one. His middle ability, Presence, is insanely strong, and it gives him a health boost similar to Vader's, but I think this one's a lot better. If you activate it while you're stunned or frozen, it will break Yoda out of whatever has him stuck. You can Presence out of a stun, you can Presence out of Kylo Ren's freeze, you can even break out of Vader's choke with it. It also stops you from getting ragdolled if you get hit by a force pull or a choke throw. A good Yoda can hang on to their presence for when they really need it, and it can save them. The only downside is that the team won't get these effects. Like if Vader is choking 3 of you at once, Yoda can only break himself out of it, but it still gives the team a health buff, and it's still really useful. The next 2 tips are about the saber throws. We've got 2 of them in this game, and they each work a little differently. The first one is Vader's, and this one is easily the better ability. It hits harder, it's more unpredictable. Not to mention, Vader can still block while throwing the lightsaber, which we'll get to in a second. But a combo that a lot of new players will try is the choke and saber throw combo, which is common sense. I don't blame anyone for trying it, but you're actually robbing yourself of a lot of damage when you do this. In one of the last balancing updates, the developers nerfed Vader's saber throw so that if it hits a choked enemy, it only does half the damage it would normally do. A better method is to jump attack after choking somebody, then throw the lightsaber. It does way more damage, and you remove that damage penalty on the saber throw, since you've already hit them once out of the choke. Likewise, Maul also has a saber throw, and while Vader's is better, I'm still a huge fan of Maul's. It's fast, and it's basically guaranteed damage in a duel, but it has one glaring weakness, and that is that Maul can't block while he's using the ability, unlike Vader. If that lightsaber leaves Maul's hands, he runs the risk of getting knocked down or shot. This is why I will never run the ranged throw star card on Darth Maul. Sure, you can throw the saber further, but that's just more time that you can't defend yourself. 10 out of 10, useless star card. Never run this. And when using Maul's throw, just be extra aware that you are vulnerable for a second. So just like how Yoda's presence breaks him out of stuns and chokes, Dooku's exposed weakness kind of does the opposite, and it gets rid of buffs on the target. This ability wipes out Finn buffs and officer buffs, it gets rid of Yoda's presence, and this is partly why Yoda is a really bad matchup against Dooku, because if the Dooku player keeps track of the abilities, they can always get rid of the health buff and just keep the pressure on. Fun fact on exposed weakness, if you take out the enemy that you hit with it while they were affected, you get that cooldown back right away so you can keep abusing it. Underrated ability, it took me way too long to start using it regularly. Moving on, we're going to stick with Dooku, but we're getting into some advanced lightsaber tech here. Hook swings are an advanced finishing move in lightsaber fights where you manipulate the camera and land a jump attack into an opponent's back. I go over them in that guide I mentioned, and they're really fun. Dooku has a variation of this move that is triggered by his attack animations, and it comes out of nowhere. So when you do 2 basic attacks, the second one will generate momentum, and it lets the third attack carry you forward if you jump with it. Basically, you input attack, attack, jump attack, and that third one should give you a boost of forward momentum. Now, just turn your camera with it. Fast sensitivity will help, and when you line it up with an opponent, you can get 2 hits into the front, and by the time their block comes up, you'll have swung behind them with the third hit right into the back. You can control this even more with a left dodge. Dodging left and attacking will make Dooku do a downward swing, and the second attack after that one has that same momentum effect. So for this variation, it's dodge left, attack, and then jump attack. Hook swings become predictable after a while, so this is a good way to get a sneaky one in there. Kylo Ren's Frenzy is a very strong ability if all 3 hits land. We're talking upwards of 400 damage with cards. Not to mention, the last hit is a block breaker, so chances are really high that it's connecting. The major problem with Frenzy is that it leaves Kylo extremely vulnerable to get knocked down. He can't block while he does this move, so it's the perfect opportunity for a Jedi to throw a force push out there or a repulse and knock him down for a follow-up hit. Doesn't help that Frenzy has an extremely short cooldown, so most players want to use it as often as they can, and that's just begging to get knocked. In a saber fight, try to only use Frenzy when you know the opponent used up their abilities, and that way they can't knock you down. Keeping with the Frenzy tips, Kylo also has a hack where he can get an additional hit out of the Frenzy, and out of all the tricks in this video, this one is probably the most inconsistent, but I'll show you the trick to it. It's all about the distance and double tapping the ability. The range has to be right on the edge of the ability's AoE, so you should be able to take a step back and be just out of range. The easiest way to do it is to find that range and dodge backwards, then double tap the ability, and you should get the fourth hit in. It technically becomes a block breaker because the true block breaker staggers them, letting the fourth hit get through. I don't know why this works, but it does. There's another variation where you can get 6 hits out of your Frenzy too, but we'll revisit that when I get better at it. This is just a good hack for getting extra damage in there. Just again, be aware that on that last tip, you're leaving yourself open for even longer if you use this trick. Frenzy responsibly. So this is a good one in one-on-one lightsaber duels. Rey, Vader, and Yoda all have middle abilities with an animation that can be cancelled. If you attack with the lightsaber at the same time as you activate these abilities, you'll get the bonus from them while canceling the animation, so it looks like you didn't activate anything, but you're still getting the effects. It's a sneaky way to buff yourself without tipping the enemy off, and with Yoda and Vader specifically, you get that extra health without interrupting your combo. I like doing this when I'm parrying somebody because they expect your health to go down only for it to go up, and it really trips them out. So most heroes have abilities that can only be done with their feet on the ground, but a handful can use abilities while jumping. Kylo Ren can pull and freeze in midair, Luke can use his push, Maul and Vader can saber throw, and Maul especially has a hidden one. You'd think you can only choke throw while on the ground, but you can actually start the ability in the air, so you're about halfway through it when you touch back down. It's a sneaky way to throw the timing off of it a little bit, and it might catch your opponent off guard. So here's another Yoda tip. Almost all the light side force users, with the exception of Rey, have an ability that pushes opponents, and each one works differently. Luke's is just a quick push that can be used anywhere. Obi-Wan's has a manual charge up to increase distance and damage. Anakin's is a 360 AoE, but Yoda's is probably the most unique of all. His charges up when he absorbs blaster shots and force-based abilities, which increases damage and range. But when he absorbs blasters, that charged energy starts to leak out pretty fast. When he's absorbing force powers though, he'll keep that charge until he uses the push. This makes him a perfect counter to Palpatine because he can absorb the lightning without losing stamina, and he'll get a huge charge for his push that he can use whenever he wants. General Kenobi and General Grievous were rivals during the Clone Wars, so it's fitting that they both get similar abilities with Rush in the name. Defensive Rush and Claw Rush are both really good. They become one-hit kills on troopers with star cards. Defensive will protect Obi-Wan from melees, while Claw lets Grievous knock enemies down. But what's not obvious at first is that they both have a second hit, and on the very rare occasion, a third. When you activate them, they're on a kind of timer before they end, but you can end them early, and when you do, the hero throws another strike out there. For Obi-Wan, it's at the end of the spinning move that he does, and for Grievous, it's right when he stomps on the ground coming out of Claw Rush. If you have cards that increase damage, you can hit for over 300 with just one ability. It's insane. Speaking of General Grievous, he's an absolute unit in Battlefront 2, and he has a technique that lets him get higher DPS than basically any other saber hero. His jump mechanic isn't floaty like all the other sabers, so if you bunny hop with him, you can chain some really fast jump attacks together that end up doing crazy damage. The trick to this is to hold block and time each jump for when his feet touch the ground. If you're not blocking, this won't work, and you can either hold the block button or press it at the same time as the jump attack. To practice the timing, just do the bunny hops without attacking and really dial that timing in. Once you've got it, you can start throwing attacks in there. This move is amazing for melting blaster heroes. Here's a small tip for the droids, and this tip goes double for Palpatine, but most players know that one. So like how Palpatine can shoot lightning using both the left and right clicks, one for each hand, The same thing kind of happens for the droids. They don't shoot both sides at the same time like Palpatine does, but when I play the droids, I like using the left trigger on controller, or right click on PC, for the primary fire, because it's the same button that you would normally block with, and that engages the zoom sensitivity, which lets you turn a lot faster. This is especially nasty with BB-9E, where you can get behind a Jedi and stun them non-stop. Speaking of the stun, there's a visual indicator that lets you know when you have it. And not just BB-9E, but Rey, Vader, and Dooku also have this indicator. If you look at your reticle and you see a bigger circle over it, that usually means there's some kind of hidden effect that's either active or it can be activated. With BB-9E, it means that you've got your stun ready to go, so you always know when you have it. For Rey, Vader, and Dooku, it pops up when they activate their middle abilities, since it gives them bonus damage. And for Dooku, it also pops up when he has his initiative card equipped. It's just there to let you know that the effect is ready to be applied, and it's really helpful, especially with BB-9E, for knowing when you have your stun. I'm a bit of a BB-9E fan, I guess, because I've got more tips for him than I thought. So 9E can do some pretty wild things in this game. For a long time, I believed Phasma could knock Anakin out of heroic might with the last hit of her staff strikes, but during my testing that never seemed to work. What did work though was BB-9E's shock spin middle ability. That was able to consistently knock Anakin out of heroic might, and it even got Kenobi out of all-out push. I usually use this ability to turn off blasters, like Leia's E11 or when Chewie activates Furious Bowcaster, but the fact it also counters sabers is really cool, and it makes BB-9E a pretty underrated hero. Next up, we're looking at Phasma, and while her droid isn't quite as good as BB-9E, it's still extremely annoying to deal with if you're on the light side. Phasma players basically turn this turret into a fifth teammate in HVV, and most of the time I see the Phasma just pick a spot and stay there, but you can also pick the droid up and move it if her teammates get a little too far away. What I don't see too many players doing though is detonating the droid when they've got someone stunned. The detonation does a solid 150 damage, so if you can't quite finish a stunned enemy with shots, you can always blow the thing up in their face for a burst of damage. The only downside is it puts your droid on cooldown, so it's a give and take, but it is something you can do. Speaking of the droid, Leia is one of the best counters to Phasma and her droid, because the shield basically makes it useless. If Leia can put her shield on top of the droid, it'll stop it from stunning her and her team, and it blocks the shots that come out of the turret. The E11 also completely outclasses Phasma's blaster, so Leia versus Phasma will usually only go one way. If there's a problem Phasma on the team, a good Leia can usually put her in her place. Leia's shield is also a unique support ability because it heals a consistent 5 HP every second if you're inside the bubble. Great for HVV and supporting the team, but there's a little hack you can take advantage of. All you need to get that healing effect is your feet inside the bubble. You can actually hang your torso out of the shield and still shoot while getting healed. If someone starts firing back at you, just dip inside the shield and it makes a really effective defensive play. If a saber starts pressuring her, Leia can just drop grenades inside the shield, and if the villain hangs out too long in there, he will eat the blast. Leia is dangerous in Battlefront 2. Don't sleep on her if you think she's weak, especially as Grievous. Han Solo's shoulder charge is a great ability, does huge burst damage, it goes through lightsaber blocks, and it knocks enemies down. But there's a glitch you can take advantage of with it where Han can charge for as long as you want him to, and it's really easy to do. When you activate shoulder charge, just press the melee button when you're in the charge, and Han will do a sort of tackle animation, and if you press the ability button again before that animation finishes, he'll start charging again. You can do this for as long as you want, as long as you melee before the ability times out. It's great for either covering distance fast or for getting to a target who's running away from you. There's a few abilities in this game that give you a small movement penalty when you activate them. Finn's Undercover Team is one such ability, where if you're sprinting and then you activate this move, Finn will slow down for a second as he takes his weapon out, and then he starts sprinting again. The Officer's Middle ability is also like this, though not quite as extreme, but a good way around it is to just jump when activating it. Even more effective if you activate while falling from a height, and that gives the animation time to finish before getting into the action. Really small tip, but it's useful to know. Also, fun fact with Finn's Undercover Team, he can't melee while using that ability. Kind of weird, but it's a thing. Bossk is probably the most well-balanced blaster hero in the entire game. His whole kit is so unique, and it makes him a powerhouse on close quarters maps. There's a glitch with his mines, where if you get knocked down by a force push or something at the same time while planting the mines, it instantly cools the ability down while still throwing the mines out there, so you basically get a double dose of explosives. You get the ones you planted, and then the instant cooldown lets you drop them again right away. It's insanely devastating, and usually you'll do this on accident when you're in the thick of the action, but you can time a push or a repulse, and you can definitely control this. I was able to do it for this clip here. I'll take it a step further. Wait until the first set of mines goes off before dropping the second set, otherwise the first set will disappear. We're moving on to Chewbacca. Chewie is probably my favorite hero in this game in general. He's an absolute unit and does so much damage in a short time, it sometimes doesn't feel fair. His bowcaster is an explosive type weapon, so the shots go through blocks. And when you're up close against a lightsaber villain, a really good tactic is to just throw punches in with the shots. I call this the power melee, where you shoot the weapon and punch at the same time, and it does a ton of damage. Even if the melee gets blocked, the shots will still go through. And often, when you're that close to a saber with Chewie, they're going to try to slash at you anyway, so they probably won't be blocking until they get low. Chewie's melee is insanely underrated, and it catches a lot of villains by surprise. If you see a saber running at you as Chewie, stand your ground, throw some fists, they just might back off. The last tip in this video is very similar to the momentum abilities because it uses that same mechanic. So Emperor Palpatine has one of the best dodges in the game, if not the best. Since he can't block, he needs to be slippery to avoid damage, and honestly it fits his character anyway. He only gets 2 dodges though, and sometimes it's not enough if your opponent knows how to track you. When playing Palps, I like to throw a short bunny hop in after my dodges because the momentum will carry you just a bit further than normal, and that short time in the air lets the dodge cool down again. So if timed right, it's possible to technically dodge forever with Palpatine. Obviously, you're vulnerable during the jump, but the dodge takes you so far out of range that usually you're safe. And it's a short hop anyway, so you can dodge again right after. And with that, those were 25 hero tips you absolutely need to know in Star Wars Battlefront 2.
Hello there.
Lightsaber combat in Star Wars Battlefront 2 is like if you took Souls-like fighting mechanics and dropped them into a third-person shooter. It's so much deeper than you might think. These are 10 useful lightsaber combat tips in Battlefront 2, and the game won't tell you about any of this. Take it from me, I've got nearly 6,000 hours in this game, and at least 1,000 of those have been spent in the Hero Showdown mode, getting into 1 versus 1 lightsaber duels.
I challenge you to a duel.
I accept.
Let's first talk star cards. In 1 versus 1 fights, there are some cards that are outright useless, like Darth Vader's Last Gasp, for example, which increases the choke's damage if you hit 2 or more enemies. Great in the 4 versus 4 mode, but if you're only fighting 1 person in a duel, then there's no point in running that card. In the context of a 1 versus 1, the absolute best star cards you can possibly run are the health regeneration cards on Obi-Wan Kenobi, General Grievous, and Count Dooku. With these equipped, you can take almost half your health bar in damage and still heal back up to full. When you take damage, that grayed out section of the health bar indicates how much you can heal back. So with the health regeneration cards, you can take a little more punishment. Vader's Bonus Health and Anakin's Tenacious are also great cards. Basically, anything that maxes out your health is good here. The other best cards to run in a duel are damage boosters, like Anakin's Massive Strikes, Grievous's Sith Trained, Luke's Intensify, or Rey's Damaging Strike. Some players don't like running those damage boosters because some of them have a stamina penalty, and that's fine. A lot of your star card choice comes down to playstyle too. Some other powerful cards I like running in duels are Rey's Balance for an extra dodge.
This right here is my favorite thing ever.
Rey's Focused Sight for a longer duration of the middle ability. Berserking Tantrum on Kylo Ren for more stamina. Lightsaber Defense on Darth Maul, which is actually bugged. It gives him 60% damage reduction from sabers while using Spin Attack. It's insane. Yoda's Agility gives him an extra block breaker. Dooku's Last Seconds makes his knock cooldown faster. There's a lot of good cards you can run. It's mostly just about avoiding the ones that don't serve you in a duel. So let's get into the actual combat mechanics now, and first technique to look at is the lunge. Lightsaber attacks are tied to movement in Battlefront 2. When you attack with your saber, you take a step forward with every swing. The lunge is just the next level, and you can practice this without an opponent. When you sprint and attack, it lunges you forward and covers more distance than if you were just attacking while standing still. It's a way to get to your opponent without having to actually move your hero. You can either drop your block and run at them to cover that distance, which leaves you open to get hit, or you can lunge at them from a distance while keeping that block up before and after the attack. To do it, just hold forward on the left stick or W when you're in range of your opponent, and when you attack, you'll lunge right at them. The move is simple, but it takes an understanding of range and distance management. When you start practicing this move, you'll figure out the range pretty quick because you'll either lunge or you won't. If you don't lunge, then you're too far away. It's actually faster than sprinting in some cases, and comboing a lunge after landing a force push, for example, is insanely strong. One of my favorite things to do to practice this is to try to keep up with Boba Fett's who are flying away. Even if you don't hit him, if you input the lunge when you're in range, you'll literally fly toward him and you can catch up to him. Like most things in Battlefront 2, it's a timing thing, and all about when you input the command. It's a really basic move, but a surprisingly small number of players use it on purpose. It's not really hidden tech, but it kind of is. I like using lunges to bait out parries, which we'll talk about in a little bit, but on the topic of bait, let's go over fakes and feints. So because dueling is a timing game, you need to time your abilities and attacks for when your opponent is exposed, otherwise they can just block you. Baiting an opponent to either drop their block or waste an ability is some next level stuff, but if you can do it well, you'll feel like an absolute pro. For example, the last ability I ever want to get hit by is Darth Vader's choke. It's basically a death sentence if he catches you in it, so when I'm fighting Vader's, I'm always mindful of when he has his choke, and I'm always trying to bait it out. Some of my favorite Vader baits are stutter steps, bunny hops, or feints, and these can apply to any other hero or ability too. I'm just using Vader's choke here as an example because it's so strong. Stutter steps are a lot of fun. It's basically just a very short sprint and then immediately going back into a block. The idea is that your opponent sees you start to run at them, so they think it's a good moment to catch you with an attack or ability, but really you'll end up blocking it. Bunny hops, basically the same idea. You can't block in the air, so your opponent thinks they can catch you, but by the time your feet touch the ground again, you've already blocked their attack. Feints come in different forms. You can either look to the side as a distraction and then look back, or you can sprint toward them and dodge back. You really just want to be unpredictable and use movement to draw out the game-changing abilities like the choke, and once it's on cooldown, you know you're safe to attack. Recognizing patterns is a major part of dueling. Always keep your opponent guessing, and fakes and baits are a great tool to do that. Attack animations are a really interesting thing in Battlefront 2. They have different timings, and you can actually control which animations you start your combos with. When you're attacking while standing still, you always start your combo with the same animation, so the combo will follow a sequence of attacks. If you dodge before you start your combo, though, you can actually control which animation you begin with. For example, the left-hand dodge begins the combo with a different animation than the right-hand dodge, and so the sequence of attacks will come out different. This is one of those things where you just have to spend some time trying different animations with the heroes, because they're all unique. As a general rule, not always, but most of the time, the left dodge and the right dodge attack patterns usually start with a very fast swing. That attack just seems to connect a lot faster than some other attack animations. If I want to start my combo with that attack, I make sure that the last dodge I do is a dodge to either side so that my combo starts with the right animation. On that note, let's bring up the one topic that I know everybody wants to talk about. Let's talk parries.
Parry?
So Battlefront 2 has a mechanic where you can parry an enemy saber attack and hit them right after, and a lot of players might find it on accident. It's very strong, and it's a great way to earn some respect from an opponent who thinks they can just bully you. The trick to this move is to hold block while you time an attack right after your opponent. Their hit will get blocked, and because you input your attack while they were exposed, yours will be the one that connects. This move probably illustrates how Battlefront 2 is a timing game better than any other technique, because it's all about which player has better timing. Visually, you want to look for the moment their lightsaber hits your block. When you see that flash is when you input an attack, and you'll parry them. The timing works the same for abilities too. You can parry an attack with a force power, like Luke's push or Dooku's stun, When I know I've got someone's timing, instead of using the saber, I'll parry them with an ability that knocks them down so I can follow up with another hit, maybe two, instead of just the one parry, and it results in way more damage. That also really puts pressure on the opponent because they've taken 3 huge hits, now you're in their head and they're reluctant to swing on you again. If you feel like you're getting bullied, turtling up and timing your attacks to parry them can get you enough respect where they stop. One of my favorite moves is the double parry, where instead of stopping at just one hit, you input 2 attack commands and get some double damage. It's perfect for finishing fights when you know they're within 2 hits, but it's also risky because the way the timing works is during the second hit they can trade with you, and you can also take damage. Trading blows is a legit tactic because if you're hitting each other, the winner will just be whoever had more health at the start of the trade. Parrying is the bread and butter move in lightsaber duels. You absolutely want to learn this move, and getting it down will instantly up your game. Building off that, I want to talk about combos and input stacking. So if you've ever played a fighting game like Mortal Kombat or Soul Calibur, this will make a lot of sense. Battlefront 2 has pretty noticeable input delay. When you hit a button to do something, the action happens about a half second after you've input the command. You can also stack inputs in this game. That's why when you spam swing your lightsaber for a few seconds and then stop mashing the button, you'll still do another attack or 2 after you've stopped. You can use this the same way that it works in fighting games, and the benefit in Battlefront 2 is that combos are so much simpler than memorizing different button combinations. Combos are just simple attacks followed by an ability, and it doesn't sound impressive until you see it in action. In Battlefront 2, there's a stun lock mechanic, where after you've been hit by a melee, you're open to get hit by a second attack before the block kicks in. That brief window where you can get the second hit in is why the combo works. Your basic attack stun locks them, and the ability connects while they're exposed. There are so many strong combos you can do. My personal favorite is with Rey. I'll land a hit and right away combo into the dash strike to knock them down, which leaves them open to another hit or 2. In total, I can get 4 hits in because of that combo. Most heroes have combos like this. Luke, Yoda, and Maul can combo into a dash. Grievous can combo into claw rush. Obi-Wan combos into defensive rush. Vader can even combo into his choke, which is a really good way to land it. You can even combo after a parry. If you know you've got their timing, parry them and then immediately combo into your ability. Combos take huge chunks of HP, so it's good to have a few under your belt. And like with all things Battlefront, it's all about timing. Do the combo too fast and it won't register. Do it too slow and you won't combo smoothly. It just takes practice. If I can find the timing, I guarantee you can find it too. Let's move on to hook swings. These are the ultimate finishing move in lightsaber duels, and it's a pretty advanced move, so don't worry if it takes a while to get it. I wouldn't even say it's necessary to learn this, but you should at least be aware of it so that you know how to avoid it, because there will be players trying to hook on you. So the hook swing is just a camera hack. It's just a jump attack where you jump straight through an opponent who is blocking, you spin your camera in a 180 and attack in midair, and it lets you bypass the block and get a hit into their back. If they're one hit away, this is an excellent move to finish the duel, and oftentimes it's difficult to counter if the hook swinger knows what they're doing. There's 2 tricks to this move. The first is maxed out sensitivity. Playing on 100 will let you do the hook swing way easier since you can swing the camera around fast. The other trick is to engage zoomed sensitivity while hooking by holding the block button. You won't actually be blocking because you're in the middle of an attack. The point is just to activate zoomed sensitivity because it's twice as fast as soldier sense. Hooks are pretty hard to figure out, but once you do your first one, you'll know what it feels like and you can chase that again. The best tip I can give for these is to bait your opponent's dodges and predict which way they'll move. Most heroes only have 2 dodges, so try to line up with where you think they'll end up after the second dodge and then hook in that direction. To avoid the hook swing, you want to be conservative with the dodging because they're going to be looking for that second dodge. Moving backwards makes it harder to line up the hook, and when you know they're going for it, you can kinda turn your camera with them to try to block the hit to the back. You can even parry hook swings, but that's a little risky. If hooks are proving a little difficult, you can try this instead. Dodge patterns and angles are great ways to get some cheesy damage in there. Angles especially are annoying because they're hard to block and easy to pull off if you understand the distance. Basically, you just dodge into your opponent from the right range, and that puts you in a spot where you're kind of inside their model and you can get a hit in while they can't hit you. It's really cheesy, but at this point, it's a feature, not a bug, so might as well learn how to do it. Dodge patterns are just another way to get behind your opponent, and Dooku and Rey are the best for this, since they get that third dodge that lets them literally stay one step ahead of their opponent. Most players will only expect one dodge in a particular direction. Seldom do they see the second one coming, and almost never do they see the third one. Coming up with fun dodge patterns to psych your opponent out is great, and especially with Rey and Dooku, they have their abilities that knock the target down for follow-up. I like doing triangles with Rey and Dooku and then going for the knock. It uses all your dodges up, but they come back so fast that it's not a problem. The last technique that I want to go over in this video are animation cancels, and I'll admit these are more fancy than anything. But if you can do them, you can string some wicked combos together. So the animation cancel is a hack that lets you attack with your lightsaber without finishing the attack animation. The way to do it is dodge in any one direction while holding block. That's very important, is holding block throughout this entire move. After the dodge finishes, you do a bunny hop and a jump attack, and what ends up happening is the jump attack goes through, but the end of the dodge interrupts the jump animation, and it ends up looking like this. The attack is going through here, but I'm seriously reducing that window where I'm open to get countered. You can't really parry an animation cancel because the block kicks in so much faster. The trick to this move is to wait for the visual cue. After you dodge and you see your lightsaber start to come back up, that's when you input the jump attack. Again, it's all about timing. Too fast or too slow, and you'll end up just doing a regular jump attack. Animation cancels are fantastic for starting combos like we talked about earlier. I love doing it with Rey especially. I'll animation cancel, comboing into a dash strike, and it's pretty devastating. Can you kind of see how all these moves work together? Like, you can animation cancel or parry into a combo, throw in some dodge patterns to keep your opponent guessing, get an angle, line up with them and bait the dodge, and then finish them off with a hook swing. It's an art form. They call boxing the sweet science. I call lightsaber duels the saber science. I said I had 10 tips, and this last one, it's not really a tip, but more a reality. You gotta practice this. I make the joke that I'm the undefeated, undisputed Battlefront 2 champion of the world, but the truth is there's always a bigger fish, and at the absolute highest level of gameplay, any one player can defeat another. It just comes down to the day and how that player is performing. Guys, I hope you found this video helpful. I had a lot of fun making it, and it's a video that I probably needed to make years ago, but better late than never. If you found any of these tips helpful, force push that thumbs up button for me, since that tells YouTube I'm doing a good job. And if you want to stay in the loop with more Battlefront 2 videos, consider subscribing and getting notified. I have an enormous back catalog of videos from when I used to make content on this game. The Battlefront Renaissance is amazing right now. Alright guys, that's it from me. Thanks for checking out the video. This has been Star. Stay stellar. Keep shining, baby.